All right, hello, Venom Silverkyle, and today we're going to be going over my March 2023 pickups. And we have a ton of video games and movies. We have a ton of novels. And I'm going to be doing a separate video for a haul, essentially, that I had of just Jordan hardcover novels. I bought a ton of them. There's over 10. I don't remember the actual number, but I didn't want to put them all in this video. I thought I would do a haul instead because that was kind of fun. And we've got one omnibus. So let's start with the omnibus. The only omnibus, the sole omnibus of March. I don't remember if there was anything else that I was supposed to get. Indigo is still kind of messed up. It's a little bit better than what it used to be, which is where I order my books from. Anyway, this is Spider-Man vs. Venom, the 2023 reprint. This is something that I'm hot and cold with because the material in here is awesome. This is, what I grew up with in terms of the maximum carnage at the very end. But the beginning is all the introduction of the symbiote Venom and Carnage as well. And I do like that. I do like books that are specific to this, but I'm a completionist already, so a lot of this material I am going to be double dipping with. Maximum Carnage does not have a hardcover version of it yet, though, so this is the only way to get Maximum Carnage in oversized hardcover. In that sense, I'm very happy for it. And I think that as a standalone, like down the road, if I want to reread something, I would probably just dive into this. Instead of, there's a lot of 90s stuff that I would probably read as well. I don't know. It's a really good book. If you're not a completionist, this is a perfect book to get. If you like Venom and Carnage. Maximum Carnage is freaking awesome. Let's dive into the video games, then we're going to go to the movies afterwards. So I picked up Record of Agrest War. No, not Zero. I always want to say Zero. Record of Agrest War, the limited edition, which is the first game in the series. I have played Zero, which is why I always want to say Zero. Here's the standard edition, or not the standard edition, but we've got the regular case here and the collector's, this limited edition. It came with this little standee, which I thought was kind of cool. So it's kind of like a 3D because there's 3 versions to it. That's I kind of like that. There's a few games that have started to do this, and that's something that I kind of enjoy. Now we've got a bunch of RPGs for the most part here. I think that they're all RPGs. Are they all? Yeah, I think they are. So I recently got Atelier Ryza 2, the Lost Legends, and the Secret Fairy. So the third one just came out for this game series, and the first one had shot up in price because there wasn't a lot of quantity for it. Same thing with the second one. They got a reprint, I think, eventually of the first one, and I have 2 copies because I forgot that I had bought it before. But anyway, I have 2 copies of the first one. I have 1 copy of the second one. I'm very happy that I was able to get this. They did a recent reprint. I think it's a reprint. They got some stock at, where was it? VG something? VG Plus, I can't remember what it's called here in Canada, but I was very happy to pick that up. And the nice thing here is that it also does come with the PS5 upgrade, so it'll look a lot nicer on my PlayStation 5. I picked this game up because I had always seen it for like $10, and I wish I would have picked it up for $10 on Amazon. I ended up paying, I think, $20 here from P&P Games, and the reason why is because they recently got a sequel or they will be getting a sequel this year, and that is, how do you even pronounce that? Valtherian Arc Hero School Story. It's a bunch of chibi characters by the looks of it. It seemed interesting. I don't think it's necessarily an amazing game, but it was something that had caught my eye before, and because they're getting a sequel, I wanted to get the first one. Now we have Tales of Symphonia Remastered. Now, in this game, it's 30 frames per second. The original was 60 frames per second on GameCube. I don't understand how they couldn't have done that for this. It does look nice. It's in HD. That's great. And it's something that I've wanted to play. Another thing, too, is that there's a sequel to this game that came out on the Wii, I believe. I believe it's the Wii. And then they did the PlayStation 3 HD collection, which had both games. Now we're just getting one. There's a lot of things that are negative towards this, but I wanted free shipping from where I think it was P&P. So I decided to put it into my cart as well because it is something that I want to play. I do really like the Tales games. I just think that this is a really lazy port on their end, which is unfortunate. Then I also picked up, this was on sale for $40, and the PlayStation 4 version is insanely expensive. This is Ys 8. Why do they have these names? Lacrimosa of Dana. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's Ys 8. It is the deluxe edition on PlayStation 5. I always kind of like to have these games on the first version that they came out on. So I kind of always wanted the PlayStation 4 version, but this is going to be better overall on the PlayStation 5 anyway. So there you have it. And I didn't pay a ridiculous amount. I think it's like $90 or $100 on eBay. So I'm happy to have that. Continuing on this cycle of games that I think will shoot up in price in terms of RPGs, I ended up picking up this game. This game was extremely cheap, but I think that the first one has gone up in price. I have the first ones for the next two here. They're both sequels, and they're both kind of similar. This is Divinity 2 Original Sin, the Definitive Edition on the Xbox One. And this is like a top-down view. Which one is... I think this one you can play multiplayer, and I think you can play up to 4 players in this, which is really fun. That you don't have to, because there's 4 different characters that you can I think you can play them all single player, but you can also have, like, if you play co-op, you can have 2 people controlling 2 people. If you get up to 4 people, you could have them all controlling their own character, which is kind of cool. So that's one of them. I got that for $25 on PNP Games here in Canada. And then I also picked up Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Ultimate Edition. Was this $50? I think it was $50, but I feel like this is going to be going up in price because the first Pillars of Eternity and the first Divinity Original Sin have gone up in price, but I already have those. I picked those up when they were like $20 years ago, so very happy to have those. Now we're going to dive into some movies here. I haven't picked up movies in a really long time, and there's all of a sudden I'm starting to get into 4Ks a little bit more. And I had a specific, you're going to see a specific genre that I was into in a second here. But I ended up picking up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think this was down to $20 at one point, $18.99. I think I picked it up from Amazon at one point. And then we get into the genre that I was in the mood for. Now, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think, is a classic. It's, or will become a classic. I mean, it's only a few years old. I absolutely love this film. I like most of Quentin Tarantino's movies. I do not like Kill Bill. Kill Bill 1 and 2, there's aspects that I like, but overall, I felt like those were such a waste for what Quentin could have given us, because I pretty much I like Jackie Brown more than Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. It just doesn't really do it for me. Love Inglourious Bastards, love Django Unchained, love Pulp Fiction, love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Jackie Brown I enjoy. I have not seen the Grindhouse film, so I haven't seen Death Proof, I believe it, the one with Kurt Russell. I haven't seen that one. And what's the other one? With Mr. Pink and Mr. Brown. I don't really care for that one. Why am I forgetting that movie? Because I never really care for it. It's just okay. I think it's still better than the Kill Bills. What is that called? I feel horrible. Normally I'm very good with names. I'm gonna catch it right as soon as I'm done filming. Anyway, let's go on with what I was in the mood for recently. And I picked up movies that I know are bad, but they're guilty pleasures. And I like the book for this one, The Meg. This is a horrible movie. It's not good at all. There's aspects where it's kind of okay. Jason Statham is not at all the protagonist that I would have expected from reading the book. The book is also a very guilty pleasure as well. Don't get me wrong. It's not like this excellent novel that you should go out and read. It's a popcorn novel that I really enjoyed. And I did like The Lock as well, from Steve Alton, who's the author of The Meg and the Meg series. And I'm going to be probably reading more of the Meg series. I've only read The Meg and The Lock from him. The Lock, I think, was actually better than The Meg. But anyway, great idea for a film. And execution, I mean, it looks good. Some of the CGI might not be necessarily the best, but for the most part, I was satisfied with what they gave me here. But the story is just too over the top. And I wanted a more serious tone, and not Statham I like, not in this kind of a role. So that's the only unfortunate part about this. I don't know, it's like a 5 at best. I think it's like a 4 or a 5. It's not, but it's still entertaining somehow. I don't know how a movie can be that bad, but still entertaining. It's a guilty pleasure. Another one that is like that, and this one just, considering I love the 2014 Godzilla so much, like King of the Monsters, I love Godzilla 2014, gave it a 7. There's a lot of things right in it. The human characters do have some interesting things compared to the previous Godzilla movies. It's a little bit better. Not great. It's not amazing, but it does the part good. But what they did such a phenomenal job with in Godzilla 2014 is the shots of Godzilla, hardly ever showing the monsters, showing a lot of point of view motions, which normally is not the greatest, but in terms of monsters where you don't want to be showing too much, you want to, the less is more. And they did such a good job of hiding Godzilla until the very end. And I was like, that's how you build a monster movie. That's what I want. So I loved Godzilla 2014. I think I gave it an 8 when I first saw it because I was so amazed by it. But I've gone down, and it's about a 7 because of other problems with the film. But in terms of Godzilla and the monsters, they did a great job. In terms of rooting for Godzilla as well, you really root for him in that. Godzilla King of the Monsters with spoilers, but King Ghidorah. This was good. King Ghidorah is definitely they showed that King Ghidorah is clearly a massive threat, which I liked. There was aspects that were okay, but they kind of just show the monsters all the time. And I was like, well, that kind of takes away from it. But anyway, it's still serviceable. I can't remember if I gave it a 5 or a 6. If it's a 6, it's a very low 6 because Godzilla is so much better, the first one. 2014. I should clarify, the new Godzilla. Anyway, and then I also picked up Godzilla vs. King Kong. But after watching The Meg and Godzilla King of Monsters, I was like, I can wait a little bit to watch this one. And last but not least, in 4K movies has nothing. It's not monsters at all, unless you count Sean Bean as a monster, because he always dies in his movies. That's Patriot Games with Harrison Ford. And Sean Bean is the main protagonist of this. This is the Jack from the Jack Ryan series. This is the first time that Harrison Ford was Jack Ryan. I've watched this movie countless times because at our family cottage when I was younger, after I'd seen this movie once, we only had maybe 50 VHSs. And we would just cycle through them. And anytime it was movie night for my choice, I picked this. I would pick it numerous times throughout the summer. And my brother said, man, it was a pretty solid movie when I first watched it. But after watching it 20 times, I just started hating the movie because he would change up. He was younger than me. He was 4 years younger than me. And he would just constantly pick something else. And I would just keep going back to Patriot Games because I love it so much. It's maybe an 8, probably closer to a 7, but it's for the kind of movie that it is. I absolutely love it. And I also really enjoy Harrison Ford. Now we're going to dive into the novels, and that's everything. So like I said, there's at least 10 books in the Just Jordan series that I bought in hardcover because I want to get back into this series. I read up to book 14, book 15, something like that. And I said, okay, if we're going to go back into this and read it all over again, because this will be the third time that I tried doing this, I keep getting up to the same place and then I stop. And it's because I reread them, which is too bad. I'm just going to try to go as fast as I possibly can through these ones that I've read before. But Homeland is book number 1, and I'll show the other ones in the video afterwards. Then we have Turning Angel by Greg Iles. This is the next novel in the Pen Cage series. I had recently finished reading the first one, The Quiet Game. I'm probably going to do a short here on YouTube for a review on this because I absolutely love this. But I feel like an old book like that, and this won't necessarily get as many people to watch it, but maybe in a 1-minute short, I could, because I think it still definitely deserves to be talked about. I just don't think that a full review will garner as much attention, whereas a short might do that. All right, so we've got Turn Angel, which is the next novel afterwards, which is a few years after. It doesn't really have anything big. It's not necessarily a sequel. It is in the sense that it's Pen Cage continuing, but it's not. I don't think it has any ties to this. But eventually there will be a trilogy that do kind of follow along. And he does have the next book, I think, which is his 7th Pen Cage book coming out later this year. And just because how much I loved Quiet Game, I'm definitely wanting to get into this. And I want to start getting them in the hardcovers. This is weird though, because most hardcovers are give or take this size, which is the Homeland one. And then we've got this one, which is a little bit smaller. So still bigger than the paperback though. That's all that matters. We've got one here that I keep hearing people talking about it, and I wanted to get the hardcover for this. It was rather expensive. And I guess I got to go this route now for the other ones, but that is Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. I'm not really sure how to pronounce the last name, but I've heard some things about this, and I decided, okay, let's get the first book and let's get it in hardcover. I probably should have gotten the paperback because that was this. I feel like this was like $40 or something like that. Do they have a price tag on it? No, they don't. Do they make them as they're ordered? I wouldn't be surprised. But either way, happy that they have that. Finally got the Writing Retreat. I was supposed to read this with my friend. He hasn't gotten his copy yet. What I did is I canceled because Indigo was having a 25% off, and because they just weren't shipping it, I canceled it. I reordered it with the promo, so I ended up saving some money on this. I don't know, I paid maybe $17 or something like that for this. It was $24.99. I might even pay $15 for this. There were some books that I got for $15. This might have been one of them. I know that there's some 15s, some 17s. Anyway, this is one of them. Glad to have that. Just waiting for Luke to get it. I recently finished, now I'll talk about this in my books that I read in March, which is only 2 books. But anyway, this is Murder at Haven's Rock. Really love the beginning of this, and then the end is just kind of there. And last but not least, we have Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars. I'm hearing mixed reviews. Some people like this, some people don't like this. I don't know. I'm going to have to play the video game first. That's what I wanted to do, play the video game first, dive into this, and then play the sequel that is coming out, because this kind of bridges those two together. So that's everything that I picked up in the month of March. Quite a bit of stuff, just hardly any omnibus, but glad I've got all this. There's a lot that I have to play, read, and watch. I'm not doing too bad for that. A lot of video games, though. That's going to take a while. Anyway, thank you all for watching. You've been bearded in Beardage.